Okay, Mom.
Well, we'll talk about my overseas travel. I think that's what we were talking about. So I'll talk a little bit about my journey to Egypt. Um, I found Egypt to be absolutely fascinating. It was nothing like going in to see the Nile and to see going into Giza and the Valley of the Kings and seeing all those pyramids. And in fact, I even rode down into one of the pyramids. They had this ladder that was nothing but just wood on poles, real steady poles, but people were allowed to climb down in there. And I guess it was something like maybe 20, 30 feet that you climb down into one of the pyramids. And I got on that ladder. The people that I was traveling with, they were afraid to go down there. But I was game. I didn't want to miss anything. I got on that ladder and went on down there and got to the bottom of that ladder and walked around in the pyramid. And of course, it was a pyramid that had been sacked a long time ago. It was empty. But you know, you just saw crevices and things where things had been. So I walked around in there because they had lanterns down there. They had hung lanterns in there. So it wasn't real dark. So then I got back on the ladder and climbed back out into the daylight. Walked back out there, you know, and just looked around. And they had these camels around there that they wanted people to ride. The natives had the camels lined up, and they wanted you to ride them, and of course, give them a donation for riding their camels. So I got on a camel, gave them a donation, don't remember what it was, but I got on this crazy camel. It was neighing and carrying on, but I just rode a little bit on it and got off. But anyway, I did go down in the pyramid and ride a camel. But we were in Egypt 3 days. And I do think the Egyptian people were my most favorite people that I met in my travels. They remind you of so much of the American black people. Their coloring was, you know, sort of, you know, a beautiful brown, just a beautiful brown. And we shopped, you know, in the shops in Egypt. I went to the Cairo Museum and got a beautiful picture of me sitting out right outside of the Cairo Museum. And it says Cairo Museum, and I'm sitting right in front of it. And it's around here somewhere. Y'all remember seeing that picture, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. No.
You don't remember seeing it? I have to find it and show it to you. I'm sitting out there and it says Cairo Museum. But anyway, I bought jewelry in Egypt and bought perfume that was supposed to be the original perfume from people like Queen Nefertiti and Queen Cleopatra, and it was in little tiny bottles, and I brought that back and gave it away for souvenirs. And I bought, what do you call the thing? I forgot what you call it. I gave everybody one.
A necklace with
Yeah,
our names.
with your name in it.
In Arabic or in...
Yeah, that's right. In Hebrew. That was in Hebrew.
Oh.
But anyway, I gave all the adults one,
Mm-hmm.
and I bought another couple of necklaces for myself, of which I still have and will wear occasionally. But
Did you see the Sphinx? And
yeah, uh-huh.
so, what was your favorite exhibit, I guess, or?
But in Egypt,
Mm-hmm. Did you ride the Nile?
well, I think, you know, the pyramids, I think those were nice, but, you know, we saw, because we did go to the Valley of Kings and the pyramids, and Egypt has lots of other things, you know. But it was really nice. My hotel was, strangely enough, facing the Nile. So that when I got up, you know, and walked out on my balcony, I was looking at the Nile. Stayed in the Sheraton, Egyptian Sheraton, or was it Egyptian Hilton? I think it was Egyptian Hilton. And I remember thinking while I was there, seeing all those people, because I had observed people going and coming into hotels, and I had thought to myself, you really need to buy some stock in these American company hotels, because that seemed to be where the action was. They were always filled, you know, with people coming and going. So I felt like that's what I needed stock in, was the American company's hotels. In fact, I think when I got back home, I tried to get some stock in it, but I was so broke when I got back home because I had 3 credit cards that I had maxed out. But to make a long story short, when we left Egypt and we went over into the Holy Land, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump. And that's the other thing about those countries over there. I think the thing that amused me was it's just like traveling from state to state over here, like going over from Alabama to Mississippi or Georgia or something. That's the way the countries are. You know, you just walk across a little street or border or something and you're in another country, except they had very tight security. We had to have passports, and they looked at them, you know, and they looked you over, and it took you forever to get through into another country. But, you know, eventually we got over into the Holy Land, and that's why security was really tight in the Holy Land. Oh, goodness. They just really, and in fact, when we got over there, we spent half the day before we could get over there. They had us in almost a big holding pen, while we just sit there waiting for them to get us through. But we finally got through. Once I got over into the Holy Land, and I went to Hotel David. We were staying in Hotel David. And it was not, you know, a real nice hotel, but it was okay. And then we started our tours. We toured all the holy sites in the Holy Land. And we just drove through the Holy Land. And I was able to see all those biblical things that was mentioned in the Bible. They still had signs up that was taken right out of the Bible, which was quite interesting. And I went to the Dead Sea. Actually put my feet in the Dead Sea, you know, and the waters felt really slimy. It was pretty water, but it just felt heavy. But I remember, you know.
Did you float? Because it's very
I
soft.
didn't get in there, just put my feet in there.
Okay.
Just put my feet in the Dead Sea. Then we went up to this site where they dug up all those urns that had all those biblical things left over. Oh, what's the name of that place? Can't think of it right now. But where they dug up those sheepskin and things that had been buried for years and years. But I actually walked into those, got pictures of those too. Where we walked into those, where they'd gone into those diggings and dug up those. After centuries, they found these biblical things that was written by some sect or another. I can't remember the sect that did that, but for anybody that cares to look it up, you know, it's history that everybody can look up and find why they did those last diggings and found all this stuff. But anyway, so I went in there, bought some souvenirs there at the shop. No, I didn't buy any souvenirs there. What I bought was this Dead Sea facial stuff that was supposed to have been real good.
Ahava.
Ahava, right. That's where the Dead see how the stuff was. I brought some back for me and the girls. And it was really good for my skin.
Yeah, that was some good
It
stuff.
was really delicious for my skin. So, what is that? So we did that, and just traveled the sites. Saw a lot of stuff. Talked to a lot of people because people were so friendly and so easy to talk to, and so beautiful.
In Jerusalem?
Hmm. Yeah. Went to all the sites, the holy sites like the birthplace of our Lord and crucifixion where he was supposed to have been entombed, and the site of Blessed Mother's home, and went to the site of the Feast of Cana, went to the Last Supper, went to David's tomb. Just went to all of those places.
How long were you over there?
Huh?
How long were you over there?
See, we were on a tour bus. And what they do, they take you to all these places and drop you off and let you look at them for a few minutes, pick you up and go on to another site. That's how you're able to see so many things. But we spent the night, 2 nights in Egypt. Was it 3 nights in Egypt? And that way we were able to get away from the hotel and really get down into the shops. But during the day we were on the tour bus, driving from site to site. And that's really how you see all those things. We went to Mass at a Greek Orthodox church over there. Can't remember the name of it. But,
Why? Why
Uh,
Greek Orthodox instead of a Catholic church? Do you know?
it's a Greek Orthodox church. See, all the religions got churches over there.
Yeah, I was just wondering why you did, because you were with the Catholic
Because
tour
I
group.
wanted to, because there again, I'm nosing and wanted to see.
I gotcha.
But after we left Egypt, took us a while the Holy Land took us a while to process out of there. And we processed out of there, boarded our plane, and headed for Rome. And see, we were staying like 3 or 4 days in each place. So we headed for Rome. And that's how I got a chance to go into St. Peter's. Or did I talk about going into St. Peter's
Yeah.
and getting lost?
You did. Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't need to go back into St. Peter's and get lost again. But anyway, so we finished our Roman trip over there. And we boarded our bus, went to the airport, and got on our Air Italia and flew to the United States.
Okay.
Got off, did I get off at Kennedy? No, that was Kennedy when I went to Africa. We got off in Chicago. We left from Chicago this time.
O'Hare.
We left O'Hare, going over there this time for this trip. So we got back to O'Hare, and I didn't have no broken leg or anything like that. So I got through O'Hare all right. Still hard travel. Them airports are so difficult to get through, but I managed to get through. And I got back home.
Okay.
And that was my, international travel. But I think I had mentioned before that I have really been to a whole lot of other places. I've been to 3 countries in Canada, on the east and the west. Montreal, Quebec, and what else in Canada?
Vancouver.
Vancouver. Right. But I think my trip that I enjoyed most of all was Vancouver in Canada. The East Coast, where in Quebec, Canada was kind of not disappointing, it was very beautiful, but it was rather undeveloped, I thought, but maybe that's the way they wanted it. And the people over there spoke French anyway. Couldn't hardly understand what they were saying because all of them spoke French.
And you went to Quebec when you were in Maine, going to school?
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. Talking about now my trips that I traveled, and when I got back home and things that I went, because I went back to school, Or did I go to school before then?
You went to school before then?
Yeah, but anyway. So that was one of the places that I went. Yeah, I'm talking about travels now.
You went to Bahamas because you've gone on a couple of cruises.
Yeah, went on a cruise to the Bahamas that I dearly enjoyed. My first cruise, my very first cruise, was just absolutely beautiful. Took 2 cruises. The second one, not so outstanding, but the first one was most enjoyable. It was just like out of a movie. Because everybody dressed up and they had lots of shows and things going on. And they took us out on this island on a boat and left us out there all day on this island. It was way out into nowhere. Now this was off the cruise ship that they took us out there and just left us. But they had a place set up out there that they served us lunch on this island. And then the boat came and picked us up and took us back on the cruise ship.
And you did that with Daddy, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. And I got this picture. I don't know if any of you ever remember me in my swimsuit, smoking a cigar. I was
Yeah.
smoking
I remember
a cigar.
seeing that.
I wasn't smoking, it was just
I
in
know.
my mouth.
Holding it.
Yeah, right. Because it was, one of these fun props to do. But anyway, so then that was my cruise. Oh yeah, and we saw this, out there they took us to a nightclub up onto another island where they had these Las Vegas shows. And I remember it was so funny because we were sitting right up on the front. I got pictures of that one too. Sitting up there on the front. And they had these girls kind of doing the can-can and kicking their legs all over Sabina's head. He was sitting up there just sleeping.
Sleep?
Sleep?
Sleep? He slept through this?
Yeah, he slept through that. He slept through that. Oh dear. But that cruise was really nice. My second cruise we did the Carnival out of New Orleans. The first one was out of Miami. We had to go to Miami to pick that one up. But the second one was out of New Orleans. And we did that Carnival cruise. And I didn't care too much for that Carnival cruise. In fact, it kind of cured me of doing cruises. I did really want to do the Alaska cruise. But, I didn't do the Alaska cruise. But the Carnival cruise kind of cured me. And I've traveled just about every state in the United States, continental United States, the old United States. I didn't go to Hawaii, didn't go to Alaska, but just about every other state. I really can't even think of a state that I did not travel in the United States. I really can. Traveled them all. Or even those crazy states way up there in the Dakotas and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Went all up in there. Oklahoma. Just wonderful travel. Saw a lot of interesting sights. It's not just the fact that you went to them, but you stopped along the way and you visited things and you saw things. Went to the Grand Canyon. Saw all those beautiful mountains. Oh, the mountains. Because we don't see mountains like that down here. And they were just so majestic. You don't think of mountains as being sort of different colors, but they're different colors. And they just, they're so pretty.
Mm-hmm.
So those are my travels. I had meant to take one more trip. I was going to Spain, but it didn't work out well. So I came back to Mobile still with the intention of getting to Alaska and kind of halfway gave up on Spain, but, didn't work out.
Why Spain?
Well, at the time, that was why I wanted to go to Spain and catch that train. And this way I was going to hit France and all, places like that. London, France, and everything, because you can get on that train and go everywhere. And I was going to have a traveling companion, because see, I wouldn't have had my group that I was traveling with. So I was going to Spain, Conrad was there, and I was going to pick up his 2 oldest kids, and we were going to get on that train, and we were going. But that didn't work out. So anyway, here I am, came back, stuck in Pritchard for a couple of years. And I was fed up with Pritchard, and I got to get out of that. The neighborhood was going down, down, down. So, bought another house and settled here, 304 East Indian Creek Drive. Been happy ever since. So I can sit here just like you see me now, all propped up,
Mm-hmm.
and just think about my adventures.
Yeah.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you, Mom.
You're welcome.